Please keep yourselves muted until it's your time to talk and share. But we are going to make this a very interactive show tonight. All right, there we go.
What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. I'm your host, Love Coach Scott Katamas. And I want to welcome all of our friends. I see a lot of our regular friends that are already in the Zoom room and more coming in by the minute. I also want to welcome everybody who's watching on Facebook. A big thank you and shout out to John and Summer Raymer. They run the Sign Network, SINE, and they get us out to as many as 100 Facebook groups and pages. So thank you, John and Summer, so much for providing that service for us. Also, thank you to Alan Steinfeld, who is running us on his YouTube channel, New Realities, and our newest broadcast partner, the Conscious Awakening Network. So we're going out and meeting a lot of people in a lot of ways, so welcome. You know, we do want to invite you to come on into the Zoom room because that way you can interact with us. And tonight's going to be a very interactive show. So, yep, I want to hear from you, Connie and Mark and Roger and Bonnie and Jeffrey, because we're going to be talking about some of the more interesting people we've had on the show, because we've got a great new co-host. Joining us tonight is a new friend of mine. This is Leah Lovelight Michael, fascinating woman with a fascinating background. And we have, of course, with us beloved brother Omashar, who will be getting us off to a wonderful start with music. But for those of you that are watching on Facebook, here's what you do. Go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, and register. Come join the Global Peace Tribe. We do 3 or 4 shows every week. So this is the registration page you go to. So for example, here's the show we're doing tonight, Ruminations on the Mysteries of Life. Tomorrow night, a really interesting show, The Art and Power of Grief Literacy. Have you ever heard that term before, grief literacy or grief intelligence? Well, we're going to be meeting some of the people that are experts and leaders in that field. And we just added Elijah Ray is going to come on and play music along with Gary Malkin and Omashar. And then on Sunday, Finding and Forgiving Our Divine Relationships. Shori Nordenstrom is an expert at finding relationships, and Shariah Dharma is all about how to really create forgiveness as a practice. So there are the shows this weekend. When you register for the Awakening World, you will actually have the opportunity to then get an email every Monday that's got the replays for the previous week. So, and then finally, you get access to our YouTube channel and all the previous shows that we've done. You know, we've done 500 online shows since the start of the pandemic. And we're going to be showing highlights from some of those shows tonight and commenting on it. But as always, we love to start with music from Omashar. So I'm going to turn it over to our beloved brother. And I love that background.
Me too. It's funny because talking about technical glitches, my green screen went wrong, so I just had to choose a random Om, right? And really excited that Elijah Ray is going to join us tomorrow night.
I've ever had. I think it's great.
What was that? Yes.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I have a bit of a bronchial thing at the moment, so I'm going to sing like the Frog Prince, and hopefully you'll enjoy this song. It's called The Frog Prince. And hey, let's see how we go. And thank you so much. Namaste. Let me shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides. And lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies. Together we will rise again, and we'll make amends for what we've done. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So let you take your hands in mine. As I look at you, your spirit shines. You see, it's true that we are one, and we came out from the central sun. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So when you take a different view, and you breathe awake, breathe out the new. The world will come alive again, as we dance and sing and make new friends. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So let me shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides.
Beautiful. I'm going to go to gallery view. Let's all see people twinkling and appreciating Omashar.
I tell you, I can. This morning when I woke up, I could chant like a monk from the Himalayas. My voice is so deep, and it's a trip trying to sing through it. But hey,
You're
family,
doing great.
we can just expose ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, a reminder, everybody, that of course we get Omashar every weekend on the Awakening World. But let's also, if you haven't already, get his albums. And the best way to do that is by going to omashar.bandcamp.com. And these are the wonderful records that he's created. There's another one on its way. It's baking in the oven right now.
There is. There's actually two on their way, but they can be pretty slow sometimes.
Yeah, well, they have their own choices. They're going to come out of the womb, right?
They have the elephant version, which is 11 months. So.
Yeah. And hey, everybody, we're hoping that I'm out in my Larissa Stroh. Many of you know Larissa. I'm on her property out in Cornville that she just bought. But the internet kind of comes and goes, so bear with us. Hopefully, it's going to stay with us. If not, turn the show over to Omashar. Also, my lighting. Oh my gosh, my eyes. Now
You look 25.
Oh well, thank you. Well, that did a good job of cracking Leah up. This is Leah Lovelight Michael. And we actually just met in Sedona a couple weeks ago. We were both guest teachers at a retreat there. And just very impressed with her. She's really bright and fun. And I thought she'd be a really fun co-host. So welcome to the Awakening World, Leah.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here. What an opening. I love the first words of the song. Shine a light inside and show me where your truths are. I feel like that's what this awakening world and coming together really feels like tonight for me. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We're all channeling each other.
Yeah, beautiful.
For people who don't know Leah, because she is new, she is the author of a book called Modern Fear, The Invisible Prison.
Mm-hmm.
She is a teacher who really focuses on working with change makers, soul seekers, and heart-centered leaders. She's a certified exchange guide, master facilitator, award-winning retreat leader, and the founder of Love Light Way, and also the co-creator of the Reveal Retreat, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But what is the Love Light Way? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting, I'm still kind of figuring that out, all of us on the path when we bring our love into the world. And really for me, the Love Light Way is not being afraid to go into the shadow. We always think about love as being this miraculous force where it feels good. And in all sincerity, a lot of times love is connected to some of our deepest, darkest feelings too. And so the Love Light Way is really being in love, no matter where you're at, the good love, the hard love, all love, and just being a sovereign being within that experience.
Beautiful. So how does the Love Light Way relate to your perception of awakening? What does awakening look like for you?
Yeah, so I believe that there's a lot of fear in this world. And as we are in fear, the natural behavior is to contract and protect and to go in. And so Love Light Way really is about making fear your ally, bringing it in as a part of your life that supports you along the way. And really in that awakening to the fact that fear is not the enemy, that the stories that are created within fear are what become the enemy. And so really just bringing love into a space of fear and really learning to love your own fears. Because ultimately our fear is part of our brain that wants to keep us alive. So let's make love to it so we stay alive for a really long time.
Beautiful. I love that. And it is true, it's so important for us to really work on the shadow side. I actually just posted a meme last week on Facebook. I'm going to pull it up for a moment. 9 signs that you've done shadow work. So, okay, everybody, I'm going to read these. And so Connie, Roger, Jeffrey, all of our friends that are just, how do you do with each of these? How do you do at laughing at yourself, not being easily offended or triggered, seeing and appreciating multiple perspectives, being aware of your negative traits without being ashamed of them, being aware. Now, they wrote negative emotions, and I don't believe in negative emotions. So I'm going to change that to you're aware of your uncomfortable emotions, anger, sadness, hurt, frustration, without being ashamed of them. You're without being rude, without being aggressive. You confront adversity and setbacks with courage and poise, and you recognize a little bit of yourself in everyone. So I'm going to bring Omashar up too. So Omashar and Leah, how did you score looking at that? Leah?
Pretty wonderfully, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty wonderful as well. I like the number 9 when you can recognize yourself in a little bit of everyone. I call it the house of mirrors. When you recognize the good, the bad, all of it.
It's a funny one you bring that up, because my practice daily is just to recognize everybody that comes to me, because I used to think that when people came to me with their energy field, and I'd suddenly feel this judgment rising in me, and I thought, hang on a minute, that's not my judgment, or is it my judgment? But it was not. I'm discovering that the people walk to you with their own judgments, and once you can discern yourself from then, it's kind of a freedom that you give yourself. Holy smoke, I'm not judging you, I'm just picking up your judgment against yourself. Therefore I can just unconditionally love you as the divine being that I know that I am, that I know that you are. And so that is my daily practice at the moment. So.
Beautiful. Now, any other comments that people say? I see a lot of people in the chat box said they did well. So put in the chat box a little bit more about, and where'd you get stuck? Like, which of those 9 maybe are like, I still got to work on that one.
Did you pop them on the screen again?
Yeah, let me pop it on the screen one more time. So which ones of these, and this is for everybody, which one would you say you still need to work on the most?
Well, I'll say that I still get triggered, especially in traffic. Yeah, that one.
Thank you, Roger.
Still working on that one. Yeah, I love the way the House of Mirrors. I know that I see a mirror in a lot of other people. I've been doing mirror work for a while, as well as shadow work, and so. Yeah, it's there was one here that I wanted to do a different take. I'll speak to it later when I remember what it is. It's like, so it's something like, what part of you that you're not aware of, something like that. It's not necessarily a shadow, but if you can't do shadow work, if you're not even aware of it.
All right. Well, thank you, Roger. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think the one for me that I need to work on most is laughing at myself.
Yeah.
I definitely, that would be the one that I need to work on the most. How about for you, Leah?
Yeah, I was debating between laughing at myself and then I have an actual fear of being too assertive and coming off of rude, because it's a character trait that I've nurtured and nourished over the years. And so I was like, I can feel it deep down inside. Maybe I still have a little bit of that to chew on and work on. So, because I'm not really assertive or rude anymore. But there's still times when you need to be assertive in life. So, yeah.
And how about you, Mashar?
I've been finding it's actually number two. I'm looking through them again, and number two, that's very appropriate. And it's about being triggered, and it depends on how healthy and how integral my body feels. But I've been around a lot of children, young children lately, and I find that they're still getting triggered a lot. And every time a young child gets triggered, I find myself getting triggered, and I find myself reacting in a way that's like like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, and it's going, holy smoke, Omashai, haven't you grown up yet? Well, apparently not. And so I find, but I've got enough consciousness, enough light within my being to go, hang on a minute, I don't have to choose that route, even though I feel it, and I could go down it. But it's been amazing. And the other person that I get insanely triggered with, or used to, is my mother. And it's like, whoa. I remember a couple of years ago, I was in England, and she was trying to take a photo of me, and I wasn't feeling all coiffed and beautiful. And I just had this tantrum. And I said, where did this come from? What is it? Why is this woman triggering me so deeply? And she was just wanting a photo, and I had to severely apologize afterwards, because I didn't lose it, but I lost it. It blanked my consciousness for a little moment. And so number two is working with the triggers, to realizing that they're just triggers, and they're pointing to something in me that just needs to be brought to light. And I know that Pamela could help me with that.
In Love Coach Academy, we teach that there are treasure in the triggers, because the triggers are showing us the areas that we still need to work on healing or evolving. So, all right, we're going to go to a video in a moment, but I want people to still, don't be shy, everybody. Pop into the chat box what's been coming up for you. And if you want to comment, it's been kind of fun for me, because knowing that Leah was going to come on the show and we were going to comment on things, Leah lives in Montana. She lives in Montana. And when I ran by the names of some of our regular guests, she didn't know who any of them were. And I thought, this is going to be fun. So this first guest that I want to show is one of my favorite moments from the awakening world. It's a woman named Claire Dubois. And I thought of her for you, especially, Leah, because I know that you're an environmentalist. I don't know if you call yourself that, but I know you love nature. We talked a lot about nature. And this 9 minutes is about the most clear presentation I've ever heard on how we need to adjust who we are as beings. So it's my honor to introduce Claire Dubois to Leah, and to some of you who may not have seen her before, and a reminder for those of you who did. So here we go. Here's Claire.
This is not a simple time to be alive, and I can talk about trees till
Don't know why it froze.
cows home. And
Okay, let's try again. Everybody say a prayer to the internet gods.
they are my greatest love, along with the rest of the planet, frankly. But actually, what I really want to talk about is us. It's what it means to be human. Is the conundrum that we find ourselves in, or the cauldron of alchemical potential that we find ourselves in. The reality that is what we have, whether you believe in it or not, I believe, chosen to be birthed into, chosen to be here for. And if you believe that you choose your time of birth, if you believe that we get to have some choice in that, then you might also believe that there would be a reason that you have chosen to be here at what is probably the greatest turning point for humanity, where we get to crash or we get to leap. It's going to be one or the other. And we don't know. If you know the science, it looks like we're going to crash. If you really understand that we have no idea what a human being actually is, then there's a distinct possibility that we could leap. If you don't believe that we were that, you know, that you get to choose your point of birth, then, well, you're here anyway. So what are you going to do with it? So to me, there's one choice right now, and that is to turn into the skid, to turn into everything that's coming, or to turn your back on it and to miss the greatest opportunity for shared evolution that we've ever offered ourselves. And, you know, I think probably everybody else here has decided to do the turn into the skid version of events, because let's face it, turning your back to this is not empowering. It's not empowering. It's destabilizing, it's frightening, it's like an abdication of responsibility. You know, if there's a tsunami bearing down on you, don't you want to see? Don't you want to know what's coming? Don't you want to have some sense of capacity to take some action? And more than that, more than just taking action, don't you want to discover who you are? You know, don't we all want to know who we are, what we're made of? Don't we want to have the most meaningful incarnations we could possibly give it? You know, you hear people talk about, oh, there's souls queuing up to get onto planet Earth. You know, this is where it's all happening. And meanwhile, we've got so many people here going, oh my God, I just want to get off the planet. You know, I don't want to be here. I want to be as far, you know, like, let's see how many incredibly wealthy people are trying to figure out how to trash this planet and then get onto another one. Like, God damn it, this planet of ours is so miraculously, extraordinarily beautiful. And we're part of that. You know, it's very easy to forget that we're made of the same rain that has been raining in this world for hundreds of thousands of millions of years. You know, the water that is in your veins was in the dinosaurs, you know, has passed through God knows how many trees, been rained and rivered and rained and rivered and rained and rivered. And now it's in the river of you. You know, we aren't separate from this planet. We're made of this planet. It's just we happen to also be made of stardust. We happen also to be made of sunlight. We happen also to be made with a cosmic breath of some description that is part of all that is. You know, in this moment, you are being kissed all over by a sky that has no limit, but vast intelligence. So then what's the possibility of humanity? That a limitless cosmos worth of intelligence is available for this little bit of planet that's walking around trying to wake up to who or what it is. You know, is the cosmos and the sky going to just go out on shopping? Is that the game we're playing? Do we think that limitless intelligence merged with Gaia and her absolute magnificence is just going to throw herself away because she can't be bothered to wake up to the miracle of life? You know, we're doing a really good rendition of that, but I just don't buy it, because I think inside every one of us is extraordinariness waiting for us to realize that that's what's here. And it's frightening. It's frightening because we've been taught that we're less than, we've been taught to give our power away, we've been taught that we're not sovereign, we've been taught that a culture that is wiping out its own life support machine is a sane culture, and it's not. So we're living in an insane mindset that has created fundamental separation from all that is, and we're being told that that's normal. And any form of breaking out of what is normal feels incredibly weird in your body, because we're being cultured and conditioned to a certain way of being, but that way that we've been conditioned is fractured. It's a lie. We're not here to destroy ourselves. We're here to love ourselves and each other into the fullest expression of what a human being is. And we have no idea what that even means. And that's why I've got hope. There are indigenous people on this planet who know how to put crystal in the ground and create water, who know how to work with the weather, who know how to go to Fukushima and do prayer and reduce radioactivity. They are much closer to understanding what a human being is, because they are in dynamic relationship with nature, which is their nature. Human nature is nature. And if we log on to nature rather than just logging on to the bloody internet, we can log on to the real internet, which is actual creation, then we will find that we have no edges. There is nowhere where you end and nature begins, because there's only one being here, and it is a being full of light and intelligence. And if we can open our minds and our bodies and our nervous systems enough with enough humility to let life as it really is pour in, till we're on our knees in humility before the miraculousness of creation, then you get to be broken open through the conundrum that we have created for ourselves. Broken open through fear and shock and all the rest of the stuff that you naturally feel when you feel powerless and when a tsunami is breaking on you. But then if you can open your arms and say, do me, come on. We've created this. We've created this for our own evolution. And what are we going to do? Pretend it's not happening? Or are we going to let it rip us open beyond all the limitations that are nothing to do with who we are, so that we can find that immensity, that love, that meaning, that passion, that grief, that rage, that ecstatic nature that is nature. You don't see a tree going, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so beautiful. Oh, I'm just going to strip. Oh, I'm too much. Oh, I'm too little. You know, nature doesn't do this weird thing that we do with ourselves. It just gives itself completely. That, to me, is the moment that we have created for ourselves. We've created a moment of absolute radical possibility for ourselves, where if we're willing to fully feel and fully face everything that we have created for ourselves, these are the circumstances for our own transcendence. Because we are life, and life wants us to wake up. Because we are nature, and nature is not here to self-combust. Because we are extraordinary potential. We are a living cosmos inhabited in this little bit of Gaia, which is billions of years worth of wisdom and experience and experimentation. And here's humanity standing there, sky meeting earth, with all of that inside us and in our so-called junk DNA, the DNA of every living species on this planet. We are a walking activation of nature consciousness waiting to happen. So I believe I had 7 minutes, and that's probably it. So I'll just end by saying, what are we here for? If you incarnated right now, whether you think it was a choice or not, you're here for the greatest turning this species is ever going to have, probably. Either for profound waking up, or the deepest level of regret we could possibly imagine when we say, sorry, guys, to our children, go face a child. Say, sorry, I just couldn't be bothered to try. I didn't want to know who I actually was. I threw in the towel when it all looked too difficult. Or you just go, hell yes, bring it on. Here we are. This is what I've created for myself. This is what I want. I want to wake up. I want to know who I am. I want to know what's possible. I want to know what everybody is capable of through radical shared responsibility and humility before the magnificence of what a human being is, which we can discover if we're willing to drop what we've been taught we are, because it's nothing to do with what a human being actually is. This is not us. And there we have it. Mwah.
I just adore that woman. Yeah. Leah, as our special guest, love to get, like, what stood out for you? How's that land for you, and what stands out?
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole page of notes written down just from what she spoke. Obviously, the very last question, what are you here for? For me, when I bring that in into my heart and like really let that answer come, and thinking about the connection into nature, you know, I lived a life of chasing the American dream, going after what the ordinary was supposed to provide. And I think I'm not alone in that pursuit of the ordinary life that we think is supposed to be so extraordinary. You get to a certain point where you've externally achieved so much, and then you're internally still like, but I'm empty. There's something more. There has to be something more. And I think that that's really when the question is like, what am I truly here for? Is when you realize the external world isn't providing what the internal world can create. And when you think about nature, 6 years ago, before I moved out here, like, I liked nature. I thought it was really pretty. I had appreciation for it. I've always been respectful of Earth. Like, I know it's our planet that we actually get to live life through. and with, but I had never really slowed down enough to be able to feel it, to understand it, to be the nature that she is claiming that we all are. And I know in the soul that we are. And in our lifestyle that many of us live, everything is in such a fast pace that in order for us to really know what we are, who we are, there needs to be this moment of slowing down. And nature is the best companion for that slowdown. It's just, how do we get more people out into nature? And we were talking about this during our connection, Scott, of how do we bring the magic of what this is into a place where nobody might regularly even know what a tree is. And so what are we here for? That question just resonated so deeply for me. And how do we even get to a point to be able to know that we want to answer that question? Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just love her passion too. She's, there's my favorite speakers, and it's one of the things I like about you is people that as they speak, that it's embodied, it's integrated into their, it's not just a philosophy they're spouting, but it's something that they really have a deep embedded understanding and an experience of. And that's what every time I listen to Claire, that's what I get. I put into the chat box, everybody, how people can support her organization, which is called Tree Sisters. I donate every month. And thank you. Charlotte is letting us know that Tree Sisters can double any donation received next week, starting on Giving Tuesday. Thank you for pointing that out, Charlotte. That's great to know. Thank you. Susan writes, long ago, I found emptiness in human connection, so I started to garden. The plants are so giving, it seems the most interactive relationship and truthful. Karen Eisenberg writes, I love Claire. Profound waking up. Yes, this is what I want. I want to know who I am. And Reverend Jeffrey says, glad to hear her again. Well, you are about to do, I was going to get to this later, but since we're kind of on the nature part of the show, you are going to be leading a women's retreat. And just before the show began, we were talking a little bit about Reveal, a little bit about the retreat. So tell us a little bit about it, and I'll also then go to the website.
Yeah. So nature's a huge part of this retreat that I put on. I co-created it with an award-winning birth photographer who captures women, obviously, in the most intimate experience of their life in giving birth. And she had asked me to do a photo shoot with her, obviously not giving birth, but just to me as a woman. And I went through the experience, and for me, it profoundly changed my life, because when I received this picture for the first time, there was this pause and question of, who is this person? And for me, at 40 years old, it was the first time ever seeing myself as a beautiful, pretty woman. And that was because I had gone through so much trauma and abuse. It wasn't safe to be pretty or to see myself that way. And so I went to her and I was like, oh, this has changed my life. We need to do something more. And she says it changes every woman's life, because the photo session is really about capturing the art and the soul of the woman. It's not about changing the lines, the wrinkles, or the roles. It's really finding radical self-acceptance in who we are. And nature is such a beautiful supporter of that. And so a lot of the retreat is actually getting women out into nature, slowing down, experiencing the sensations through nature, discovering the story of their connection to their great mother, the connection to their story, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then it's partnered and paired with this beautiful photo shoot with Jenna, where she really captures the art and soul of the woman. And so that is definitely always in nature and always has lessons of nature involved, because she is our greatest teacher.
Beautiful. And so this is going to be taking place in Puerto Rico?
Yeah. In February at a really lovely facility called Casa Alternavida. And each room is nature inspired. There's a spirit animal in each room. It's 2 minutes from the beach and 7 minutes from the El Yunque rainforest. And so we go both places and experience a really beautiful community. It's a very intimate casa. All the meals are included and everything. It's a really, really special experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Our very significant member of the Global Peace Tribe is our friend, the abbot of the Mystic Monastery, which is in Puerto Rico.
Oh.
And Jerry, who he was at our retreat in Sedona a few weeks ago, Jerry has 10,000 acres in Puerto Rico that he is the steward of. It's their own ecclesiastic nation. So I'll have to connect you with Jerry for sure.
Yes.
Find out how close this place is to Rio Grande.
Yes. Yeah.
But here it is. So 5 nights accommodation, meals, 50 digital photographs, a fire ceremony, cacao ceremony. Unfortunately for women only.
Yes.
But
For now.
it looks like it's going to be really, really special. So for more information, everybody, definitely go to the website. I put it into the chat box. I'll put it again. And that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing it.
Well, I'm so excited because I get to introduce you to really an amazing couple. I'm going to show you a segment from the Twin Ray. And everybody, even though you've seen Twin Ray on my shows many times, this is actually a segment that has never been seen before on The Awakening World. It's from a talk they gave that I was at. We filmed it, but I have not played this before. So it's new Twin Ray. And for anybody who doesn't know the Twin Ray, Shekinah and Sananda are both very highly evolved beings. They met in Egypt 5 years ago and have created a powerful partnership. I've had the good fortune to stay in their estate in Ashland, Oregon. They have a 120-acre temple, and I've lived with them, and they are always the same. They're always high vibe. They're always loving. They're always funny. They're always wise and playful. They are beautiful, and I so appreciate knowing them. And they're really two of my absolute favorite human beings ever. So I get to introduce them to you, Leah, and to some of our new people watching on Facebook. And for our regulars, you get to see just something that they've never talked about before. Here we go.
Every one of you is tremendously courageous. Every one of you. Because what you've been through in your lives is meriting of that courage. And really, everybody in this world is extremely courageous for coming here to do this work.
Yeah, to come to the School of Earth.
The School of Earth is the hardest school of all the schools.
Yeah.
But it's the one that everyone wants to come to. Because you learn the fastest. Because even though, here, time seems like it just takes so long, and the beloveds have been excavating for 40, 50, 60 years of their life and doing all this work. And yeah, maybe you feel, a little bit better. But for most people, things are very similar. They don't change all that much. But they can. They really can. And right now, time is quickening and everything is speeding up, and we're moving out of time and into pure consciousness. And that's where the magic gets to happen. That's when you get to really play with the energies and learn your own energy field and how to work with that in synchronicity, interfacing with everything and everyone else.
And that brings us to that third path, which is the path of alchemy, the path of meditation, the path of ascension, the path of the great mystery. That is where you do the inner work, your cultivation of more light, of more energy to come into what's known as resonance, where you're resonating with a field, you're resonating with spirit, you're resonating with that divine presence that is the true nature, but you're in resonance of that. The friction, basically all suffering is resistance to life. So when you're in resistance, you create this suffering.
The rub.
And then a rub. There's some wobbles that you experience, whether it's in relationships or whether it's in your vocation. No matter what it is, when there's a rub, when you're rubbing against something, it's because you're resisting to what is. And so cultivation, or the path of inner alchemy, or the path of ascension or inscension, it's this going deep into the very fabric of the unconscious, going into the soul records. Where did you pick up these programs, these beliefs that were based in fear?
Whose are they really?
Whose are they really?
Where did they come from?
Not,
They didn't originate with you as a young baby.
Yeah. And so when you do that, you start liberating yourself, freeing yourself from these struggles. You don't, it's not like you're in this rubber band experience where you're feeling expanded, but then you contract, expand and contract. You fall in love and you fall out of love. Those experiences can be very much dissolved when you do the internal work. And this is where a lot of the divine sciences are as well, the esoteric sciences, where you understand the syncretic connection to all things.
We love the esoteric sciences.
Yes, that is one of our...
Decoding everything. What does it really mean?
Yeah, decoding scripture to understand or understand what it's relating to the micro version, your body vessel, and to the macro, the universal level, as above, so below. That's also a form of alchemy as well, understanding the inner cultivation process, how everything from the genetic level to the physical template, everything is interconnected. And it's a measurement, your physical body is a measurement of the universe itself. And everything is a holographic, fractal expression of everything else. Because it's one field of consciousness. There isn't that we see objects and we ascribe subjects to those objects, but it's actually just all energy. And beyond energy, it's actually just all consciousness with one undivided awareness of all that is. So this path of meditation, inner cultivation, inner alchemy is about rising your frequency so the mind doesn't take you away from the truth of who you truly are, the love that's truly in your heart. And when you rise your frequency to a certain level, you don't experience that reality. You don't experience the shadow tendencies. You see the synchronicities, you listen, you're guided by that synchronicity. And life can be an effortless unfoldment.
And so why would one want to cultivate the alchemy that is available for you already naturally? Well, you can liken the body to bookshelves. The more you cultivate, the more bookshelves you can have, the more wisdom you can have. The more you cultivate, the larger your cup becomes, so that the ocean of knowledge, of love and information can be held within it. A very small vessel that hasn't cultivated, if an ocean of knowledge or an ocean of information comes, it's going to crack, it's going to break. Cultivating is what's going to allow you to hold, to then transmit. And that's really what everyone wants. You want to be able to walk into a room, transmit that love, and enliven someone's life just by your presence alone. Mm-hmm. Cultivation is needed for that. That's how the inside of you starts to shift. That's how your cells start to vibrate at a faster frequency. That's how you become impermeable to viruses, to diseases, to anything like that. It's too fast.
Your vibration's just at a different rate. And so there's a science to this as well. And there's so many benefits that happen just being in a peaceful space, being in a peaceful state. You know, what is heaven on earth at the meta level? It's just world peace. It's experiencing peace. Not pieces of life, but one continual peace. And so that's really what can happen when you stay true to the very essence of yourself. And what's interesting is in this time, we're in what's known as a Satya Yuga. We're coming into we're in a golden age. What marked this was certain astrological alignments that happened in 2020 and also back in 2012, 2017. There's these certain markers that have happened in the calendar of the sky that have been predisposing the frequency of this Earth to a new grid, a new template. There's new Earth grids that are establishing on this planet that are, who knows of ley lines? Has anyone heard the concept of ley lines? Yes. So ley lines, basically, there's a whole new grid structure that came onto this planet because our planet had dropped its electromagnetic field. The poles are shifting. They're not completely shifting, but they're partially shifting. What this all means is that it's opening up a bandwidth of energy that is known as plasma, or it can be called cosmic energy, and that converts into gamma wave energies into the crystalline core of the Earth and creates these slow standing sound waves. Why is this important? Because whatever template, whatever energetic template is holding the space, that frequency creates form. So just as we have a meridian system, an endocrine system, chakras, we have all this internal biocircuitry, so does the body of Earth. And so when there's certain alignments, as the cycles of life come into certain alignments, there's a quickening that's happening. There's a mass awakening that's happening. And right now, the collective's going through a mass purification. This is the time of prophecy. This is a time of great purification. And so each one is experiencing that internally, and some have already been on that path for many, many years. And some are embracing that or resisting that to whatever capacity they're able to in this modern time. And so cultivation is key. So when we come into certain times known as harmony times, which are days before the equinoxes and solstices, is when all the grids, they come into balance and come into harmony. But that doesn't mean that everyone on the planet comes into harmony.
On the contrary.
Sometimes when someone's in dissonance, when someone's not living in alignments dharmically, sattvically, there can be this pressure cooker, so to speak, that can happen, where certain experiences, relationships, careers can just crumble because it's not supporting that higher evolution of what you really came here to do.
That's right, and through this resistance, the ego, it fears annihilation in the face of love. And when the grids harmonize, well, there's so much love and resonance there that anything that is in dissonance cannot maintain itself, it cannot sustain itself. And this is where polarization starts to happen. You have to be really aligned and deeply connected in your center, in your own center column of light, and in your own convictions of truth deep inside of you, in order to maintain that balance, in order to stay in that place so you don't wobble, so the polarization doesn't happen in little bits and pieces within the aspects of everyone. Because even though there's one consciousness and one person, you are made up of many aspects, of many belief systems, of what your earth parents have told you and what their parents have told them and what society has seeded inside. And so it's a purification process to get to the one truth that has never changed, can never change, and will never change.
And that's sort of the substrata that's always present. It's always there, this one presence, the one truth, that one field of love. Coherence is always there when you drop in. But what is dissonance is judgments or fears or traumas or beliefs or impressions, not liking what someone's wearing or what someone's any projection onto someone or something is a mirror of oneself. And that's really what this plane of existence is. It's an opportunity for polishing the mirror.
I love the twin ray. What stood out for you, my friend?
Yeah, there's a lot in that. They're definitely ethereal beings. For me, I always think about the human experience. Like I've lived a very human life, and as much as I know that I'm a soul living a human experience, I'm very connected to my soul. I'm very connected to the outward. I always think about really what it means to be human, and being human in this body where we experience our emotions, our pain, our pleasure, all of it. When they, suffering, they said suffering is the resistance to life. And sometimes life hurts. And it makes me think about, there was a forest fire that happened on the mountain directly by me. It's like maybe a football field away. And it turned into a complex fire. And so I watched this fire burn acres and acres and acres. I listened to trees explode. I watched animals run away. I saw the forest fires come in. And what I recognized then and there is that nature doesn't really discriminate. Like, nature is on the path. When it's burning, everything burns. It doesn't say, oh, I'm not going to burn you, I'm not going to burn this. And it really is part of the human experience, in this experience of like seeing suffering and witnessing suffering and deciding not to be consumed by the suffering. And so, and as we find that center within us, how then do we connect to this ethereal part of us, which is the true essence of ultimate love? So their perspectives really cracked me open, and I could go down like a pretty long channel on this for sure. And I always just think about, this is our human experience now, and how do we let life live through us in this unconditional way of love, which is this one ultimate true source. So yeah, that's what came up for me.
You're beautiful. I'm going to read some of the comments coming in. So Reverend Jeffrey writes, love the flow between them. Field, source, all emerges from it. George writes, Baba Muktananda enjoyed telling those of us psychologists, shadow workers, psychology born of human suffering, yoga born of human bliss. That's interesting. Omashar writes, the one unchanging, omnipresent, omniscient, unwavering universal truth. Connie and Andrew wrote a book called The Trust Frequency. And so she referenced that earlier. And then she adds, so beautifully expressed, all the systems and behaviors that are breaking down were established in response to the lower frequency the earth was in. And now there's no resonance for those lower frequencies, and we're being pulled forth into higher ways of being and new realities that have never been on the planet before, that we must bring into the physical through free will and choice. I think when you were talking, Leah, about the human part of it, that's why it's so important for us to really practice empathy. Because there is suffering, and we don't want to pretend that there isn't. We want to have empathy for people that everybody's experiencing what they're experiencing. And there are people like the Twin Ray that are experiencing life at a very high level and are in a lot of joy, and a wonderful example of fifth dimension, or whatever you want to call it, heaven on earth consciousness. And there's other people that are really in the human suffering experience. And it's important for us to have empathy and compassion for all beings, especially those that are suffering.
Yeah, I think to be a bridge for him too. It's like once we find this higher space of love, it's like being willing to go back in to reach back, to bring forward. I'm such a firm believer in that, of like trying to give love in every instance that I'm in. And that's no matter what, if you're human, you have some sort of worry or some sort of stress, like we all have it. You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't have to live and control our lives, but the more that we can take this higher frequency of love, this heaven on earth, that when we find these treasures and reach back and create that bridge for others to come forward, I think that that's the most important part for me in my existence. I know that.
Yeah. You know, in the spirit of multiple perspectives, and I really appreciated what you said about nature and fire and no discernment or discerning. But actually, I have to share a little story that has an alternate perspective. I lived in Topanga for 6 years, and I was there when there were a lot of fires in Topanga, and I was there when there was a really big fire. And my house became a command post. And I stayed and I made meals for the firemen. And the fire chief one night was talking, and I asked him, you know, do you believe that fire has a consciousness? And he said, absolutely. He said, every fire has a consciousness, and it has the same desire for survival that we do. It will do whatever it takes to grow and to survive. And he said, but it also does have a consciousness. He said, I have watched it go through a neighborhood and for no reason at all will completely skip over a house and choose which houses to take down and which houses to completely leave alone. And it's not just wind, it's not just the fuel, it's clearly makes no logical scientific sense. It's more like like the fire says, nope, that one, yep, that one. So an interesting alternative perspective there.
I love it. I love it. I think it's such a beautiful perspective, because why are some things just missed completely? Like how it jumps from one to another. So I love that. I appreciate that.
Well, that's what our topic is. Ruminations on the great mystery. And ultimately it is. It's a great mystery. It's all such a great mystery on all these levels. And that's where it's important for us to share knowledge, share stories, share experiences, but don't make a religion out of any of them.
Yeah. I think another really beautiful story about fire too is, especially these big forest fires, is that in order to stop them, it's a simple little like 4-foot gap in the trail. You know, they chisel out like a really small gap to where the fire can't jump, you know, no little sparks. And so sometimes when we're in like these massive chaotic experiences, what's the smallest little line that you can draw to prevent that forest fire within you from going any further? There's so many lessons within fire. It's such a beautiful element.
Yeah. Thank you for that one. I like that. Are you ready for another person that you may not know?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I pulled up a video from Elizabeth April. I love Elizabeth. She's been on the show many times, but not for a while. Last time she was on was in April. And she is very tapped in to the Galactic Federation. She's a channel and tuned in and connected. And so, and she's really quite wise for her years, and a lot of fun too. So here is a sequence of Elizabeth April. Elizabeth, you are very advanced at interdimensional connection. For people that want to move in that direction, or people that are already playing with it, what are some tips, practices to make sure that you don't get lost in that experience, and also that you are attracting beings in the interdimension that are healthy, that are good for you, that are loving?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So you can make a statement like, I'm ready to make contact, but you always want to add to any of these statements for the highest good of all involved. So that's what I've been doing for many, many years. That's what I've taught my wife how to do. Now, I do believe that as we start to raise our vibration, we go from third density, which is the physical. And in order to get to the fifth density, we need to move through the fourth density or the fourth dimension. And I believe that the fourth dimension is kind of this weird liminal realm. So you could think of like elementals living in the fourth dimension, but Bigfoot, Sasquatch living in the fourth dimension, even shamans, a lot of shamans live in that fourth dimension realm. But also entities live in the fourth dimension realm, and not so great beings live in the fourth dimension realm. Parasites, energetic parasites live in that realm as well. So for a lot of people, as they start to awaken and question and move beyond the third density, they start to have all of these experiences. But what they don't realize is that those experiences are contained within the fourth dimension density. And a lot of them can be like witnessing dark shadows, or even, entities or beings talking to them and maybe giving them not so great advice. So what I always recommend is, once again, making the statement for the highest good of all involved. That's going to really sharpen up your intention when you do want to make contact. And then when you do have a being or you do make contact with something, to really enter into your heart space frequency and to shine unconditional love into the being, and to ask the being to show you unconditional love. And it's really important that when you do want to make contact, you actually know what unconditional love feels like. If you've never really felt unconditional love, then you may not have it to help you to navigate between light and dark. You need to understand at least what light feels like in order to understand what darkness feels like, or vice versa. So a lot of the times, like a really good example of this is like many years ago, because I'm clairvoyant, I visually see all of the beings. And there was this like beautiful white angel that came. She was like wearing this billowing white dress, and it's like she had this like white light aura just emanating from her, like exactly what you could imagine this powerful angel to look like. But when I started talking to this angel, really, and immediately, actually not immediately.
Elizabeth,
at first it was like, well, I'm this angel of light here to save you, or whatever.
Your internet.
Is it my?
Yeah, your internet went wonky about a minute ago.
It's
and it's out. In the red. You know, it shows me.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you have the ability. Now it's back to white.
Okay.
It's back to white. So let me pause. Okay.
Awesome. So yeah, so a couple of years ago, I was meditating, and there was this beautiful white light angel that kind of came into my field. I could see her very, very clearly. And she had this beautiful white dress that was just kind of billowing in this non-existent wind. And she had this aura around her that was just pure white light, like anything you could imagine an angel to be. This was the ultimate angel experience. So I started to telepathically speak to this angel, and I felt like something was off, like something just wasn't right with her. And so I questioned her. And so, at first she kind of comes back with, oh, well, I'm this angel of love, and I'm here to give you all this advice. And it still felt off. And the only way that I could describe it was she felt hollow. Like it didn't feel like this whole feeling. It's kind of difficult to explain. So I questioned her again, and I said, no, I don't think that you're this angel. I said, who are you really? And in that moment, her eyes turned black, and she transformed from this billowing white light angel to this really dark, like sharp teeth entity that started coming at me and attacking me. And this was a really great experience. I'm so grateful that I had it, because it allowed me to understand that entities can show up in many different forms. Entities can speak to you if you're clairaudient and say, oh, well, I'm your spirit guide. If we do not have discernment, then we just kind of understand, okay, cool, you're my spirit guide. What do you have for me to know? And they could really mislead you. So what I recommend is always bringing it back to the heart space. If you ever have any doubt about any being who enters into your field or energy, all you have to do is ask them to show you unconditional love. And just the other day, I had this Palladian man come to me and I didn't recognize him. And I didn't really feel off about him, but because I was teaching my wife how to do this technique of like really getting into your heart space and asking for unconditional love, I figured, oh, I'm going to test this guy. So I said, before we communicate, show me unconditional love. And it was the most beautiful experience. He opened up, he took his hand, right? He opened up his literally his chest. And I just fell into this kind of like love vortex. And it was like one of those moments where you feel source in its purity and you start crying and laughing and it's beautiful and you feel like you're being hugged and embraced. And immediately I knew that he was of light, he was of love. And so then we continued to discuss and communicate and what have you. And so I really always recommend to hold the intention of, I want to make contact, I'm ready to make contact for the highest good of all involved. And then also, if you ever feel like you're questioning a being, really asking them, can you show me unconditional love? If they go away, if they're unable to show you that, or they make excuses, or they're beating around the bush, you know that, okay, I'm not going to follow through and continue to communicate with you or discuss with you or connect with you unless you can show me that. So I'm going to kindly ask you to leave my space, and they will leave or they'll attack. I mean, it's going to be one or the other. And just know that white light and unconditional love towards them, instead of fear, instead of even fighting back, is always going to be the main source of dissolving them or upgrading them into that higher frequency, because unconditional love will win every single time.
Beautiful. Quick question on that. You talked about if somebody hasn't experienced unconditional love. So anybody watching this who hasn't had children or dogs or cats, that's usually where we learn unconditional love. What's a practice to cultivate unconditional love within yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the main thing, like, there's going to be a moment in time where, for lack of a better term, I could say, like, it just hits. Like, there's just this moment where, like, oh my God, and it's like every essence of yourself melts. Like, I was walking my dog the other day, and there's like this beautiful snail on this leaf. And I just had this moment with this snail. And it was the most profound unconditional love. I have this with flowers. I have it with practically anything I interact with. And it's not a word, it's an experience. And so you have to really start from within first. If you can't have that with a snail or a dog or a plant, go within. And what I recommend to kind of get to that place where you just feel it, you have to check in with yourself. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you doing? What can I do to support you? Like, what do you need? Really focusing your intention from your mind space into your heart space more often, surrendering more often, not needing to know more often, letting go more often, being in that neutral place, objectively observing more often is all really going to anchor and pivot you into and really prepare you for experiencing unconditional love. So I really say that you can't experience unconditional love with anything outside of yourself until you feel it inside of yourself first. So if that's the case, I don't recommend you make contact. I don't recommend you ask for that contact if you have not yet experienced the unconditional love, because unfortunately you might be very easy to be taken advantage of in the other realms. And that can be very evident to some beings who are in those other realms, that you don't necessarily have that discernment. And I've seen it many times where, these people do get taken advantage. I've been taken advantage of in the other realms because I didn't know really what I was looking for, what my intentions were, or how to discern. So start with the unconditional love first, and then anchor yourself out into other realms and realities and astral planes.
Beautiful. And discernment. I'm glad you mentioned that word, but I just absolutely discernment. And Yogananda said that discernment is the last lesson of master souls. So discernment is very, very important. Elizabeth, thank you so much. I just always love your wisdom, and the way you express yourself is just delightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
Camera. Oops, here I am. Uh, Elizabeth April, I saw you smiling.
So good. Yeah, I resonate with her a lot. It's interesting because in my own healing journey, I recognize that like there were sticky energies with me, and I'd gone through a shamanic experience, and he had given me wisdom that Elizabeth was speaking about of um, you don't have to let everything in. It can just be from a space of love. And the more you set those boundaries and the more you ask for it, the more that the energies will listen to you. And so as going through a healing journey, as like sticky stuff surfaces and you're going through the fears, like all of these energies outside and inside of you, that could be yours or others. I started working with a boundary instantly as soon as I started to feel that like nervous, like what is this kind of thing? I don't know if I feel safe anymore. I would start saying only from a space of love and kindness that accepts and extends forgiveness. Only from a space of love and kindness that accepts and extends forgiveness. And I don't have to say that too often now, but occasionally I'll walk into a room where I'm like, ooh, this feels interesting. And so again, I'll just go back to that. And so I think that the unconditional love is such a beautiful human quest to have, to connect into the deeper. And if you don't have it quite yet, you can come up with things that remind you that you want to be in the space of love. And I threw on the forgiveness because sometimes when the icky comes up, other memories come up. And the more that we can find forgiveness, the deeper the self-love and self-compassion and unconditional love can come. So I really appreciated her perspective a lot. And so lots of good wisdom there.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I had pulled 8 segments.
That's wishful thinking.
I know. I always, order more food than I can eat. But I think I got to show one more thing. And yes, Pamela Butters. We love Pamela Butters. Pamela Butters, by the way, I got to put you on the spot here for a moment. She's going to sing. We're going to do a show on December 17th with the Twin Ray and William Henry and a couple of other Ascension teachers. Cornflowers, one musical artist, and Pamela Butters is going to be singing for us. And those of us who are at the Global Peace Tribe retreat, she did amazing crystal bowls for us. So, Pamela, I'm so looking forward to your sharing your voice with our audience in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I love being with you in this tribe. It's wonderful, Scott. So thank you. Thanks for the wonderful invite.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're with us tonight. Thank you. And Pamela just wrote about discernment being the last lesson of Master Souls. Yeah, that's straight from Yogananda. And I think it's because, at a certain level of consciousness, we realize, all right, we have to stop judging. Judgment is what creates toxicity in all relationships. As a relationship coach, that's what I've learned. The problem is not the differences. We're all going to have differences with each other. It's when we start judging each other over the differences that a relationship gets toxic. So no judgment, but definitely discernment, right? And we can discern without judging. And that is the master's path to living life. We make choices without judgment, but with full discernment. So there you have it. Boy, there's so many things I wanted to share tonight. Matthew Fox and Adam Apollo and Lucian Tarnowski and Geraldine Orozco. But you know what? I'm going to go with Reverend Michael Beckwith. Since you said you weren't familiar with Reverend Michael. And I've known the Rev since about 35 years. He created Agape International Spiritual Center. And I started going to Agape when there were about 20 of us meeting on metal folding chairs in the basement of the Santa Monica Miramar Hotel. I've gone to Jamaica with Michael. I've interviewed him dozens of times on dozens of different things that I've worked on. And again, he is the real deal. He's always loving, kind, wise, playful. He's just a beautiful, beautiful man, and quite wise. And so this is actually filmed a little less than a year ago. I was getting ready to do The Awakening World, and I asked him what he thought The Awakening World meant, or what his thoughts are about it. So that'll be our last video for tonight. There we go. Michael, we're starting a new series in January called The Awakening World. The idea being that it's obviously a very hard time for a lot of people, but everything that is happening is part of the awakening world, and all of us as human beings awakening. And I would love anything you have to say about your perspective about this particular moment in time as the awakening world.
I would definitely be in alignment with what you just said. It is a time of great awakening. And I think that the prophecies from the indigenous cultures have pointed to this particular time in which we are living, in which there is decadence. There's that which is not in cadence with that which is emerging, that no longer serves us, that's falling apart and creating a lot of disturbance in the field for a lot of people. And then there's the emergence of expansion of our paradigm into a global society that's sustained more by compassion and love and generosity and forgiveness. I think we're in the midst of the destruction of one paradigm and the birth of another paradigm. The earth itself, if you look at the earth, Mother Earth, from the shamanistic point of view, a great shamans would say, one of them, that we would talk about this, just passed a few days ago, Malidoma Some. When the earth spoke to him during his initiation into elderhood, she told him that she had already passed into another phase of consciousness. The frequency was much higher, and that humanity was being invited into a higher frequency. Those that come into it will pass through this phase with very little worry and anxiety and anxiousness and fear. But those that don't will pass through this phase with fear and worry and anxiousness and anxiety, and it will be a very difficult time for them. You see, so from the shamanistic point of view, and the mystical point of view, we're already, the earth is already at a higher frequency, and the field in which we're living is already at a much higher frequency. Some would say another dimension we're living in already. From a scientific point of view, the earth is vibrating at a higher frequency. Over the last 30 years, of which the Schumann resonance has been measured and things of that particular nature, it's at a higher frequency. So that means that certain things will not be sustainable if it's not at that frequency. If you start a business merely for profit and you don't care about what you're creating, you're just doing something just to make money, it's not going to be sustainable, you see. So we're in that dynamic right now. And so it behooves us to encourage folks to have a spiritual practice. Doesn't matter what you call yourself, doesn't matter what religion, just opt out of the dogma of it and come into what they all are leading us to, which is a closer walk with love, a closer walk with resonating with compassion and peace and generosity and forgiveness, all what all religions actually teach. But to not to be religious or to come into high religiosity, but to really embrace the fruitage of the practice, which is a deep spiritual connection with the presence, you see. And that guides you in your thought, your conversation, and your deeds. So yeah, we're in a very volatile period of time, and everything that we're going through is kind of an evolutionary trigger that is pushing some people and pulling other people to another awareness of the cosmology of the unity and oneness. See, so what I would say, I was recently on a panel with some good friends, Catherine Woodward Thomas and Marianne Williamson. And as we were exiting, Marianne said, Michael, give us something positive to think about, with all the darkness, with all the stuff that's going on the planet right now. What would you say about it? And I said, listen, The universe is progressive. The universe is the outpicturing of the fundamental order and harmony and beauty and symmetry of the heart mind of the infinite. It's always expanding to reveal more of the infinite nature of the presence. Even if it contracts a little bit, it always expands more, you see. And so it doesn't go backwards. It's always progressive. So with that, when something is out of alignment, something is not in integrity with the fundamental harmony of the universe, it creates a level of stagnation. So what happens is that stagnation creates a tension. And that tension becomes like a slingshot. You know, as the universe is going forward, the stagnation, it feels like it's a slingshot going like this. And then when there's a release, the energy is released and it creates a kind of a renaissance that very quickly things change, but it changes through the individuals who are doing the spiritual work. Peace does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but it rolls in on the backs and the minds of individuals who are doing the spiritual work. So when that energy is released, it moves through people as creativity, innovativeness, resourcefulness, you know, very fast. And so I think we're being prepared for a renaissance because of all the stagnation that's happening in systems that are systemic with greed, and systemic with injustice, systemic with bigotry, systemic with injustice. It's going to happen very rapidly. We're going to enter into a renaissance phase. And it's going to happen, it's not going to be like magic, like God's going to come out of the sky and do anything, because the presence of God needs vehicles, just like electricity needs a light bulb. You know, electricity is everywhere, but unless it has something to plug into, you don't see it. God's everywhere, but unless people are plugged in and bear witness to it, you know, it doesn't show up. So all of us who are doing spiritual work are going to be the instruments of a great renaissance. And even though it looks dire in many ways on the planet right now, looks dire, you see, because you can use the same laws for negativity, which many people are doing right now. But anything that is against life is not sustainable, because life's not going to work against itself. Eventually, the tension is going to create a slingshot and go, and that which is not in alignment will not be sustainable. And the new things that are in alignment will grow really, really rapidly fast. And the things that people are railing against won't have any power.
Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Michael, thank you so much for these many messages and for being such a great inspiration in my life for 30 plus years now. There's so many people. We were at the Sheridan. I used to come see you downstairs at the Sheridan, man. There were like 20 people on metal folding chairs.
Absolutely. We started in my living room, and then we went to the Santa Monica Bay Women's Club, and then we went to the Miramar Sheridan downstairs, and then we went to the Wedgwood Room, and then we went to the Starlight Ballroom, and then we got those buildings over on Olympic, and then we went to Culver City, and now we're here at the Saban Theater in Beverly Hills. We're just in the midst of, right this moment, in November, going into December, we're celebrating our 35th anniversary.
Wow.
We're just celebrating 35 years of, and we've expanded more than any time in human history of our beginnings. We've expanded more during these past 2 years during the lockdown of healthy people. It's the first time in human history that there's been a lockdown on people who are healthy. It's never happened before. You know, but during these last couple of years, we've expanded more than any time of our existence.
It's a beautiful reframe. You know, that was another thought that I had when you told the story about how Howard Washington Thurman reframed that experience. And you were so beautiful at reframing how we see things. And that's what you just did. You just gave 2 examples of reframing and seeing it from the bigger perspective, from God's eyes, from the spiritual perspective.
Yeah.
So there's another place I'm imagining that he helped influence that within you, watered that seed.
Absolutely.
Michael, God bless you. Have a very, very happy holiday season.
Absolutely.
Love you so much.
We're gonna keep the holy in the holiday.
Absolutely. My big joke, my birthday is Christmas Day. So
Oh, wow.
my joke always is remember the true meaning of Christmas, not the little dude in the manger, not Santa Claus, but Scott's birthday.
Scott, happy appearance day, brother.
Much love. God's blessings. Have a beautiful, beautiful few weeks. Look forward to our next connection.
God bless you.
Oh, I love Michael. And doesn't he just state it so clearly? I mean, I put in the chat box, life is not going to work against itself. All right, my friend, what stood out for you with Reverend Michael?
Yeah, first I did recognize him. So that is one that I didn't know. I'm really excited about that. I first just appreciate his spirit. And what really resonated with me is life is not going to work against itself. And then the deep spiritual connection is within presence. And that presence, the present moment right now, is when life feels most alive as well. And so there's this like juicy yumminess of what he just said, because it's about letting life live through us. And the more we can be in the present and have the presence of that, I think the deeper the connection goes. And we realize that we're a co-creator with life. So lots of good energy there. Lots of good energy.
Beautiful. Well, we're wrapping up. Any final thoughts you want to share tonight? Anything out? God, I thought we were going to have ruminate, and the 90 minutes went by very fast.
Very fast. It was just really great to be here and to hear so many perspectives. And just, I think anytime that you can tap into an experience like this, it breathes hope. Like there's so much to be out there that can create worry. And then it's to remember that, like, as he was saying about the slingshot, the more we do the work, the more that we can be the transmitter and the broadcaster for the work. So thanks for doing this. And thank you for everyone that was here this evening. It was really lovely to spend time.
I'd love you to come back and we'll do the remaining 4 segments. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to go to Omashar for a closing song in a moment, but just wanted to let you all know about what's going to be happening this weekend on Awakening World. Tomorrow night, all about grief literacy. Gary Malkin, who you've seen on the show several times as a musical artist, he won a Grammy Award for his album called Graceful Passages. And he's gotten very involved in kind of the movement of reorganizing our thoughts about death and dying. And he's brought on some of his friends. Ken Druck has written several best-selling books. Kim Rosen is an amazing poet. Michael Tamura, you've seen him on the show before. He's beautiful. And we just added, coming to us live from Costa Rica, Elijah Ray, one of our favorite musical artists, hasn't been on the show since Saturday Night Live time. Elijah Ray is going to come and play music tomorrow night. So, and Gary Malkin is also going to play music. So tomorrow night's going to be a great show. Really interesting topic and some beautiful music in between the conversation. And then on Sunday, I've invited 2 women that I really respect. And it's interesting, 2 different elements of relationship. Joy Nordenstrom is all about helping people find healthy partners. And Shariah is all about how to practice forgiveness on both sides of the equation. And so it's going to be a dynamic conversation with those 2 ladies. So that's our Sacred Sunday show. So, and joining us tomorrow night and again on Sunday, God bless him. I am so grateful for Omashar, who is always with us.
Me too. I'm grateful for me as well.
Blue dot eyes.
And what a rich smorgasbord you presented tonight. Perfect. I know that there was a second and third and fourth course, but it was perfect nuggets of crystalline information, and I feel totally blessed. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to play a song called Contemplate. And if everyone could clear their throats, it would really help me. So I can hear you all clearing your throats for me. Thank you so much. Okay. beloved. Turning to the face of those who need the light of truth to help them turn the other cheek and turn around. Lift each other up into the highest point of view so that together we can move to higher ground. Contemplating everything I knew. Seems as though there's not much left that I would hold on to. Contemplating what is pure and true. Sun and moon and stars and light and earth and water too. We are rising, soaring, flying, living life so free. We are flowing, changing, growing, loving all we see. And glad to know we're coming home again. Open hearts and open minds and open doors and loving friends. Look at the one who's standing by me now. Destiny is in our hands, so leave the density behind. We are rising, soaring, flying, living life so free. You just felt we are flowing, changing, growing, loving all we see. Turning to the face of those who need the light of truth to help them turn the other cheek and turn around. We lift each other up into the highest point of view so that together we can move to higher ground. Contemplating everything I knew. Seems as though there's not much left that I would hold on to. Contemplating what is pure and true. Sun and moon and stars and light and earth and water too. So turning to the face of those who need the light of truth to help them turn the other cheek and turn around. Lift each other up into the highest point of view so that together we can move to a higher ground. Contemplating everything I knew. Seems as though there's not much left that I would hold on to.
Yay, beautiful song. Absolutely perfect. Close.
It's perfect. Thank you for clearing your throats. I made it through 2 songs tonight with a.
You did great. Now, thank you everybody for being with us tonight. Hope to see you later on in the weekend. And a reminder also, tomorrow is my relationship satsang group. I almost forgot to talk about it. Saturday mornings. Some of you have been coming, and it's a chance for us to kind of just talk about some of the things going on in life. We offer tips, tools, practices. It's not live streamed. It's not recorded. It's just for the people who show up. But that's 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And a wonderful opportunity for us to learn and grow together. And you can just watch, or you can actively participate. And if you have something going on in your life that's challenging, that you're wanting support for, this is the place where you can get, well, at the very least, some empathy and some compassion. And quite often, it's a place where you can get some actual specific answers. It's a very, very powerful group. And every Saturday is little bit different because people come and go, kind of based on their availability. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I'm putting into the chat box right now the link if you want to register for it. And for people that are already registered with the Awakening World, most of you have sent you the link already anyway. So Masar, thank you, brother. I will see you tomorrow night. Your buddy Elijah will be with us.
No, right? That's so exciting.
And take care, everyone.
Leah.
Thank you, Leah.